Connie Willis, the podcast. Taking you into new ways of thinking, even providing answers to questions you've often pondered. Connie Willis, the podcast.
I must have called a minute or two before, but, it worked out. Here I am. Yeah, I called 4 or 5 times and it just was busy, so I just kept dialing. I figured exactly that you were still on with whoever,
We're going to go ahead and start this. If you happen to hear me say something like, I may reenact that this is live. So, get ready to hear things like that, but we'll just keep going, okay? If you hear me state the number. And I'll be putting in your credentials a little later on. But welcome back to High Strangeness. We are talking right now with Doctor. I don't know why I even said that. We'll keep going here. Welcome back to High Strangeness. Connie Willis here. If you'd like to give us a call tonight, which we hope you'd like to do, the number to call is 1-800-STRANGE. I'm sure you'll want to, because the man we're going to be talking to is the caretaker of the wonderful, unbelievable, and incredible StarChild skull, something that I got to hold on to myself. So that was pretty interesting. His name is Lloyd Pye. Hey, Lloyd, how are you?
I'm good, Connie. Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited. The very first time that I met Lloyd, it was at Roswell, and I had seen this little bitty piece on this skull that was found that looked like the smoking gun, that looked real, and I couldn't believe that that's all they gave the attention. Just 10 minutes on a show is what I just recollect. It wasn't enough time. And I see this little sign in Roswell that says StarChild, and I thought, is that the one? I went back there, and it was exactly the piece that I had always wanted to learn more about. And then I was introduced to Lloyd, and I was so excited. I do not understand why nobody just throws this out as the smoking gun, except that's what your plan of attack is.
Right. Well, the reason they don't is because it might be it, and you really don't want to pay much attention to the thing that could bring it all to a screeching, grinding halt. So that's one of the reasons we've had such a difficult time over the past 11 years getting the kind of attention that something like this deserves. I mean, it's obvious that it deserves more attention than it's gotten. However, we're working hard and feeling very good about our prospects right now for getting that attention in the not too distant future, because we're as far ahead now as we've ever been with it toward proving definitively beyond any shadow of a doubt that it is indeed a human alien hybrid, or in some way or other not entirely human. So we're very excited.
Tell the listeners exactly what the StarChild skull is. This is just a skull.
Right. It's a real, true bone skull. I mean, there's no doubt about that it's real, legitimate, not cobbled together, not a fake or a fraud or a hoax in any way. Too many experts have passed judgment on it, and everyone agrees, really, that sees it. It has not all, it has most of the parts of a normal human skull, except all of those parts have been, their shape has been changed, they've been shifted in their shapes, they don't align the same way, their center of gravity is different, the thickness of the bone is different, the biochemistry of the bone is different, the eye sockets are incredibly different, inner ears are different, it's just the neck, I can just go on. There is not a single point of congruence in the StarChild skull with a normal human skull. So it's safe to say that there's a very, very good chance that because it came from an adult living being of some age, it isn't a child. That was just a mistake on our part calling it a child. It's not a child. But it is something that is very, very unlike a human, and very likely all along to prove to be not entirely human, and now we have the genetics on our side, and we're going to be able to prove it.
Oh, it was absolutely wonderful that you allowed me, I don't know if you remember, but you allowed me to actually hold the real skull. He has one that is a mold of the skull that he usually shows people and lets them touch and look at, and it's exactly, a replica, but he let me hold this, and Lloyd, I'm so happy, because I just don't know how people who have seen this in person can dispute this. I think the people that dispute it seem to be the ones that have never seen this or laid hands on it, much less their eyes on it.
It's very easy to dispute anything you don't know anything about,
yeah.
and that's what people tend to do. The people that really put it down the hardest are those that really don't know anything about it. They've just decided, because science has allowed them to take the position that aliens can't possibly be real, so anything that is advertised as potentially alien is just ipso facto impossible and wrong and a fraud and a hoax and all that. It just comes from ignorance. The people who say that and say it the loudest are the most profoundly ignorant about it, because all you have to do is spend, an hour reading an ebook, and really you're just turned around on it. You'll see the evidence is overwhelming just at the physiological level, much less the genetic level. But it really doesn't matter, Connie. Here's what it boils down to now. We're in the catbird seat. People don't realize it. We're just like out here doing what we're doing, and we're just sneaking up, and we're going to drop the biggest hammer on everybody that they can imagine, because they just can't conceive that it could be true. They just dismiss us completely. Well, that's fine. Let them. Our turn's going to come. We're working hard at it. We've got the genetics, as I said, are going our way. We're in fine shape. It's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other and keep doing what we're doing.
That's exactly right. Hey, you're listening to High Strangeness. I'm Connie Willis, and we are talking with Lloyd Pye, known as the caretaker of the StarChild skull. And if you'd like to ask him a question, please do so. 1-800-STRANGE is the number to call, 1-800-STRANGE. Also, check out the website, because we have some really great pictures so you can take a look at the skull. And also, we've got some of the testing also that's on there. And you can, of course, check out Lloyd's website. We're going to give you all that information. Lloyd, if you can tell the listeners, how did you become a part of this? How did the StarChild come into your home, into your hands?
Because I was a specialist when I started out in this field in hominoids and human origins. The truth about what I felt was the truth about human origins, how we came to be here. It's not the Darwinian view or the creationist view. I'm for intervention, and part of my work dealt with hominoids: Bigfoot, the abominable snowman, and the two other types that are out there that most people don't know anything about.
Very interesting, by the way.
It is. It's a fascinating field.
Mm-hmm.
I really love it. I'm very passionate about it. So because that work dealt with skulls to a very large extent, when Ray and Melanie Young, the owners of the skull, decided to do something with it, they asked around about who in the field of alternative knowledge knew about skulls, and my name came up, and so they said, okay, let's show it to him. So the next time I was passing through El Paso, where they live, I stopped by, saw it, and I was just blown away. I thought sure, though, frankly, I thought sure that it had to be some kind of human deformity. It couldn't be an alien. I mean, good, what are the odds on that? But still, it warranted just proving it, just defining what it was exactly. And as I took it on, they asked me if I would do that. I said, yeah, sure, it shouldn't be hard. So I began to look.
Shouldn't be hard, famous last words.
Yeah, famous last words. So, I began to talk to experts, and everyone that I talked to that knew something about a particular aspect of human cranial anatomy would say, I can't really explain this. This is really very, very different. Well, you stack up a half dozen of those, and then you stack up a dozen of those, and you realize, wait a minute, if nobody can explain this thing. So by the end of that year, I was convinced that it really probably wasn't entirely human, couldn't be entirely human, because all of its parts just didn't add up as either a human or a human deformity or a human, a birth defect, genetic deformity or a birth defect. None of that was answered by anything. It was something else. It was something other than. And it began to be known then that we had to find DNA proof, that science wouldn't accept anything short of DNA proof. And that's what's taken the decade plus, is just getting DNA technology to the point where it can prove it. But now it's there, and so we're in good shape.
Excellent. Before we get to what exactly is going on with it right now, which I'm very excited with you about that, what about, how did Melanie and her husband get a hold of the StarChild? How did they own it themselves?
Well, it came actually from a woman who found two skulls, actually, two skeletons in a mine tunnel in Mexico in about 1930, and she recovered the skulls, and to her they were just souvenirs. She thought that was just a deformed human skull, as anyone would think in 1930. And so she just kept them in a cardboard box in her garage for the course of her life. And when she was dying in the early 90s, she willed them to a couple of friends. They kept them for 5 years, and then gave them to. They were uncomfortable with a couple of skulls in a box in their garage, so they gave it to Ray and Melanie, because Melanie had been a neonatal nurse for a number of years, and they felt that she wouldn't be icked out by the skull of a deformed whatever it was. So Melanie and Ray said, sure, no problem. So they took them, and as soon as Melanie saw them, she said, "Oh, this isn't a human deformity, not what I know human deformity to be." And she knew,
Right.
She said it's too light, it's too symmetrical, it's too weird, it's too different. And she said it looks just like the head of a gray. It turned out that she and Ray were members of El Paso's MUFON group, Mutual UFO Network, so they knew about aliens. And so she said that should go in the head of a gray. Could go in the head of a gray. I think it's a gray skull.
That's like happy birthday on that day, huh? What
right.
a surprise.
So that's
to her.
when they contacted me. And they maintained some degree of skepticism. It was always, I think it could be, I think it really could be, kind of thing. But we all agreed that we didn't know everything there was about human deformity, and we certainly didn't know everything there was to know about birth defects and things like that. So those were things that had to be learned and were learned over the course of 1999. I saw it. They showed it to me first in February of 99. And so it took to the end of 99 for me to speak with enough experts who would talk to me. I had the average is about 1 in 10 that would actually talk to me. Most experts just ran the other direction, just terrified of the thing.
Why?
But finally I had enough that had the nerve to deal with it, that could tell me that, you really do have something very special here. We can't tell you what. We only know our specialty, but our specialty says this is very, very weird.
When you say terrified, why were they terrified?
Well, because, anything to do with aliens or UFOs is really a third rail to scientists. If they're caught touching it in the wrong way, it can kill them. It can kill a career. They can't be seen to be giving any credence at all to the possibility of UFOs and aliens. That's just been ruled off limits by the mainstream poobahs who dictate terms for everybody and what you can and can't believe and what you can and can't study. And one of the things off limits for both belief and study is UFOs and aliens. So it's hard to convince people to do work, even if you promise them you won't use their names publicly. It's still hard to get them to overcome their fear of censure and peer disapproval, and of course loss of job. I mean, there are just so many examples of people who have crossed that line. Dr. David Jacobs is one of the ones who has stood up to that kind of pressure, and does he have tenure? I don't even know that he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they make life miserable for academics who want to cross over to the dark side, where
the dark side, where we are.
Yeah.
Well,
so
anyway, turn on the light,
that's
folks.
The background of that.
It's just you always hear them saying, "I want proof, and that's, as a scientist, I want proof." And then when you give it to them, they're still. Well,
it's because they don't really want it. They want proof that
Right.
nobody can give them. We want proof, but we want the bar to be so high that we don't have to pay attention to it. And so that's really the essence of it. One of the guys that I talked to toward the end of 99, which really directed me toward DNA as much as anything, he said, look, I don't care if you stack up 10,000 of these physiological differences. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to say nature can do anything and leave it at that.
Oh.
I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to believe any of this, because nature, nature is our God, and nature can do anything. And that's pretty much the way it is with them. So they are able to hide behind those very voluminous skirts as they've designed nature to be, and it makes it very hard to get around it. But fortunately, thank goodness, we're so lucky that DNA is something that they all have to pay attention to. And even that guy said, now, show me some different DNA and I'll be impressed. Well, that's what we've been after for the last decade, and now we're there.
And DNA can put someone in prison for the rest of their lives, So
or get them out of jail. Too.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
DNA is the math of biology. DNA you can't argue with. I mean, if you run a sample through and you get a certain result, and scientists don't like it, they'll say, okay, run it again. And if you run it again and it gets the same answer, there's not a lot they can do about it. If they run it a third time and it gets the same answer, what can you? It's like saying 2 + 2 is 4, and saying no, I don't want that. I want it to equal 5. Run it again, and you get 2 + 2 = 4. No, I still want it to equal 5. and you run it enough, and they're going to have to say, well, dadgummit, I guess it is 4, kind of thing. So we're going to have to wait till we get to that day when they have to admit that dadgummit, it is 4, So that's kind of where we are right now, and we're in the process of doing it.
Well, Lloyd, who is the StarChild, or what is the StarChild to you?
Well, to me, it's the thing that's going to prove that alien life was on Earth at least once 900 years ago. And I strongly suspect that it's going to prove out to be something that was genetically engineered rather than sexually reproduced. And so that's going to establish genetic engineering at 900 years ago, and that's going to just throw all of, I think, the Darwinian evolution of human theories just into the trash can, and we're going to have to start over.
Well, Lloyd, we're going to have to rewrite history books. That just costs too much money and takes too much time.
Yeah, well, sometimes history books do have to be rewritten, and this is going to be one of those times.
Excellent. Well, so would you even consider it as a hybrid?
Well, yeah, it's a hybrid of some kind, but the question is of what kind. We know that the mother's mitochondrial DNA is human, so that we know that the egg that that held the zygote was from a human being. But what we don't know is where did the 2 gametes come from that made the zygote in that egg. Right now, today, here on Earth today, we are taking the eggs of women with what's called mitochondrial disease, where they have faulty mitochondria, and we are taking the gametes out of their eggs, and we are mixing them, her gamete, which is her package of DNA, her 23 chromosomes, and we can mix them with the gamete of a husband or whoever to make a child. And so we put her gamete with his gamete, and we make a zygote, and now we can put that zygote in any egg we choose other than her egg that has good mitochondria, and produce a living child that's going to have DNA from 3 parents. It's going to have the gametes from, the mother and the father, but it's going to have mitochondria of the third person. But if you have mitochondrial disease, you are just screwed. You are going to be so wrong in so many ways that it's just something that it's a great thing that we're able to do. Well, the StarChild could easily be a product like that, where it has very, very little human DNA in it, in its makeup, but its mitochondrial DNA can be all human, and that's what I'm coming to believe will be the case.
What can you tell us now that's happening with you guys?
Well, we're just we're in the process of raising the money to complete the whole genome of the StarChild, to recover the whole genome, and to create a documentary film of that process as it unfolds. And we're in negotiations now with a potential investor. We're very excited about how it's going, and we look for a result and hopefully an agreement from him in the next few days, in which case we'll kick it off full blast. We're all very excited.
Lloyd, I just tell the listeners how, I've met you, that you have been trying for a long time to raise money. Why is it that people would not, I would think they'd come out of the woodwork to have this proven and to put their name on a change of history? You
really would think so, but it's the kind of thing where nobody believes it. At first, always, even with this investor, the first thing was, wait a minute, if this is true, why don't I already know about it? It's a story this big has got to be, on front page everywhere and be on 60 Minutes and all the news and everything. No, it's not, because this is not something that those people at that level want to deal with. This is something that has to, slide in under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a news that anyone in stream, whether it be media or science, is going to welcome, because exactly what you said, it means rewriting everything, and it changes everything, and it just shifts the ground under everybody's feet in so many ways. And it's the old, they're not going to know which way to turn for a while, and so they, rather than confront that, it's much easier to just ignore it. So it's been very hard to get people to understand that, hey, yes, there's going to be turmoil at first, but downstream, on the back end of it, some very good and positive things can come out of it. And that's what this investor finally is appreciating, that a lot of good can come to humanity down the line because of this research.
Well, I'm hoping that when you can, that you will make, let us know as much as you can here, and talk to us again on High Strangeness, and keep us informed with that.
Love to.
I would love that too. You guys, you are tuned into High Strangeness. We're listening to Lloyd Pye talking about the StarChild. And if you'd like to call in and ask him a question, that number is 1-800-STRANGE. Also, I'd like for you to check out the website, and you're going to see some pictures of the StarChild, and that is highstrangeness.com. Lloyd, when I watched a segment on Monster Quest, how did you feel about what they did to the StarChild? Did they give it the proper story? Did they do what they should have done with it? Were you happy with it, or?
No, I wasn't happy with it. I thought that the recreation that Bill Munns did, forensic sculptor Bill Munns, I thought that recreation was pretty good. I was very satisfied with that. I would change a few things maybe, but I thought he did overall a good job. But shows like that, they're the same way, really, as most people. It's just like they wouldn't dream of doing a whole hour on the StarChild. It's like that would mean we're taking it serious, and they really can't do that. It just has to make its own way, and it's going to. I put it on shows like that, and on the History Channel's UFO Hunters the year before. And everybody does as well as they can, given those restrictive budgets and whatever prejudices and all they might carry into dealing with it. But it just has to make its own way and stand on its own. And we're in the process, we hope, of making it do that. And its day will come. Its day in the sun is going to come in the not too distant future. So I'm just not worried about what's happened in the past. There's been some not so good things, some really good things, and we just take them all the same.
Well, I know you feel solid. You know that the female is mother, and you know that the father is not of this world, and I know you know that. And you're basically going through this testing to prove to the other people, without a shadow of a doubt. And I guess my question is, I realize, how people put prices on things?
Right.
This is priceless. This skull, it's absolutely priceless.
Right.
This is, being able to hold it myself, I'm just a firm believer.
Well, people just, Connie, people are afraid of the really, really radically new and different, and that is really what this is. Everybody has tentatively thought about aliens being real because of, the science fiction, any movies and everything, but it's fun to just speculate about it. To wake up one day and know, absolutely, beyond any shadow of a doubt, they are real. Real, 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 real. For those people who are taken on board, for example, for those who have encounters and can remember it, it's a kind of a life-changing thing for them.
Yeah,
and they have to adapt and adjust to that reality. Well, everyone's going to have to adjust to that reality, and so it's going to be a period of transition as everybody gets used to the idea. Well, first of all, all the skeptics and all the critics have to eat their portion of crow, which they're not going to enjoy doing, and then the rest of us, just average folks, are going to have to adjust their thinking to accommodate that new reality. But it's not a bad thing. It isn't, it isn't going to you get up and you go to work the next day, and it doesn't change that much. I mean, scientists go in with, black eyes, but they get over that too. It just changes. It's change, but it's big change. It isn't little change. Everybody's okay with little change. It's the big changes that terrify everyone, and this is one of them.
Oh, bring it on. Bring it on.
Well, a lot of people have been thinking of it, like, you and I and people in alternative knowledge, and David Jacobs, and they've been thinking about it for a long time. It's not horrifying or terrifying for the average person who comforts them. They understand the truth about it, and the truth is what they've been told by science, which is that it's not true, it's not real, it's not possible. Then it can be just sort of a fun thing. You go to the movies and you get titillated and scared, but you come out of it and it's not true. I don't have to worry about that. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I do have to worry. I don't think so. I think if we had anything to worry about, we wouldn't be here. We could have been taken out a long time ago. So I think whoever's out there, whatever's out there is basically benevolent. I know a lot of people don't think might not be benevolent, and that's true. But we've gotten here so far, and we're a very ill-behaved, badly behaved species. We're wrecking the planet, and they're still letting us go ahead. So there must be some kind of injunction out there against really doing major harm to us. So that's all I can think.
Do you think that all the abductees out there that talk about this, the whole agenda of the Greys, of hybridization, do you believe that this is proof of that? Do you think that the StarChild is a part of that?
Well, excuse me. Yeah, it's part of hybridization. I think. I do think it's a hybrid, and I think it's going to be shown to be genetically engineered. So it's a part of it. I don't think it's the part of it that created us. We're not in it. Whatever it is now, whether it's a human gray hybrid, I don't know how that's going to prove out, because we have to see first how far it is away from the human genome. And we're going to be able to do that. We can recover its genome. The technology is there now. So we will be able at some point in the not-too-distant future to compare nucleotide by nucleotide, base pair by base pair, what the difference is, and determine that percentage. And that is going to tell us a lot about its genetic heritage, what its mother and what its father were like. We just have to wait for the answer, but the answer's out there, and the answer's coming, and it will be definitive.
And when that comes out, do you think that it might help with disclosure, or do you think it may be stopped before it gets out? Because I know you've had trouble along the way where it looked good that this was going to be known, and then boom.
Right. I don't know. We have to all just wait and see. But if anything should happen to it or happen to me, everybody's going to know why. We've already got enough genetic evidence already, just in small bits and pieces, but it's enough to be convincing to know that we have a species here that is partly of Earth and partly not of Earth. Mm-hmm. So we know that already. So that horse is out of the barn for sure, and it would. I don't think it would behoove anybody to stop us now, because there would always be that proof, and there would always be the certainty of who did it and why they did it. So,
mm-hmm. Well, just to change the subject a little bit, because we're just about running out of time here. Hominoids. I know we don't have a long time to talk, and we can definitely talk about this some other time, I hope, if that's all right with you, where we could really get into it, because I love all the Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I just think that's amazing. But I know you're going to have an answer to this, and I know you're going to probably slap me right down with it, but I've always wanted to ask you this. And your answer is going to be very quick on this. Lloyd is just an expert on hominoids, and we're talking, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, abdominal snowman, hobbits, and there's another one. What was that other one?
Well, I mean, nobody recognizes the Hobbit as such, even though it is one of the pygmy type of the hominoids that wrap around the Earth's equator in the jungles and swamps of those areas. Okay,
but you put that in that category, right?
Oh yeah, the Hobbit's definitely a hominoid, no question about it. Exactly, but science insists that it's some kind of freakazoid human, which is what they will always do and always say. because if they just can't allow hominoids. Hominoids are every bit as destructive to the Darwinian paradigm about human evolution as aliens. I mean, they stand side by side. Hominoids can do just as much damage as aliens can to the fantasy that humans evolved on Earth. That's just a garbage theory, and it's going to end up in the trash bin of history in due time. So it doesn't matter whether it happens in the next 6 months or the next year or whenever, but either a hominoid or an alien or both. And that's the end of human evolution as it's taught and understood now, and it's just a matter of time.
But what about? I know you believe they're real, and I'm curious. Why do you believe they're real, and why can we not? It just seems that they've never found a body. They have. That's just. I mean, is that just a bunch of bull?
But this is something you haven't studied very well, or you would know better. There have been bodies found. The Minnesota Iceman was carried around in a frozen block of ice in a floor freezer, but it just happened to be killed by the wrong kind of man. He was a carny hustler, and so he just put it in a freezer and went around charging people 50 cents to see it, and then later $1. And, he made a lot of money. And I saw the Minnesota Iceman, and I can assure you that was a real hominoid dead, no doubt about it. There's the famous Patterson Gimlin film,
right,
where we've all seen that of the female Bigfoot walking along Bluff Creek. And, that film has been studied second only to the Kennedy assassination. Nobody that really studies it has any doubt that it's a legitimate film of a real creature. So you've got those two pieces of evidence right there. When you say,
but it seems like that's the only body that was ever found. The Iceman body.
Bodies. You have to understand the situation with bodies in the areas where they live. In the real world, Connie, Mother Nature destroys very quickly the bodies of those that die. They had on a TV show about a hominoid just recently. They staked a deer down to see how long it would take till it was just mostly gone down to the bones, and it was about 2 weeks. And then the bones will go over the next several weeks by mold and bacteria. Mother Nature cleans her plate completely. Understand that, dust to dust. Or you and I would step out of wherever we are right now and be faced with 1,000-foot high mountains of bones if Mother Nature didn't do it that way. So when something dies in the wild, in a matter of a few weeks to 2 or 3 months, you never even know it laid there to die.
Unless it's buried, I guess, unless it's in a different setting, it's just going to go away, right? I mean,
right. If you die if something, let's say, for example, something that's used to living in a deep forest dies out in a desert, right? That's not where it belongs. It's not where it's supposed to die. Those bones will be whitewashed. Like in the old cattle days, wagon train days, you would see skulls of horses and ribs of cows because he died in the desert where they don't belong. But if something dies where it belongs, Mother Nature is fully equipped to reduce it down to nothing. And so that happens to everything. I mean, you can talk to people that live and work in the woods, and they'll tell you they almost never see the corpse of something that dies naturally. Why? Because they pull themselves up into a secluded area to die. They know they're sick, they know they're dying, they go for self-protection, and they hide themselves. And so then they die and they decompose in that hidden area. Now, let's say one were to fall off a cliff by accident and its body just down at the bottom of the cliff. Well, now that's exposed. Somebody may walk along and see that. Could happen. But, but I don't know. The body's still going to be decomposed, but it will be exposed and open for a while. But for the most part, you talk to people that work in the woods and all, they'll tell you they almost never, ever see the body of something that just laid down and died in the middle, out in the open. They just don't do that. That's not the way animals do.
Do you believe they are an act of nature, or do you believe that, or a product of nature, or do you believe that, as some people have said, that this was created half man, half ape? Do you think it's anything genetically designed?
They're totally a product of nature, of here on Earth. They go back 20 million years. If you read about the Miocene apes, from 20 million years to about 5 million years ago, Miocene apes dominated the world. They were more than monkeys. They were lots of them. And among those apes were some bipeds. Now, science is not very fond of talking about this, but you have Morotopithecus going back 21.5 million years ago, clearly walking, with all the attributes that you need to walk upright in its spine and other parts, shoulder blades, and just everything. You can read a book called can't think of it, by Dr. Aaron Filler is his name. And anyway, it goes over all of this, and it talks about the various upright walking primates in the Miocene, and those are the ancestors of the hominoids. The hominoids are the indigenous upright walking primates of planet Earth, and humans, we don't have a place in the flow chart of life on Earth. We just don't. We could talk about this really for the rest of the night.
Oh, definitely. I find that fascinating as well. I know some accounts from some people. I find it fascinating that I've heard it many times where these things will throw rocks, at them. I'm not sure what that's about or anything, but I don't know. I just find that just as interesting as well. And maybe one day in the future we can take the show out and we can go in there together and broadcast about what we find.
Fine. Good.
You'd like to do that?
Oh, yeah, of course, absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll prove everybody what the StarChild is first, and then you and I will go do that and also check out Megalith. So, everybody, you're listening to High Strangeness. Thank you for tuning in. We have been talking with Lloyd Pye. You can call us at 1-800-STRANGE at any time to ask us about what's going on, and definitely to talk to the experts that we talk to. And I know it's LLOYDPYE.com, correct?
LLOYDPYE, you got it.
Got it right this time. I misspelled it before, so I'm not.
Okay.
I've done that before, but thank everybody. Just give us a call, 1-800-STRANGE. We'll be right back. Lloyd?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wrapping it up there. But no, I did know about your little story. I was just trying to make you the star there. I knew about your story. I knew about all your little Iceman story.
No problem.
Connie Willis, the podcast. Join Connie's other shows at ConnieWillis.com.